It's hello from him,
Richard Moore, and it's hello from her.
Well, it's me again, Michele Monro, and I'm very excited, not just by doing our podcast every month, but today marks another very special guest. Now, born in Midsummer, Norton, Somerset, this dear friend of mine is an actress, singer, dancer and entertainer. She's released 3 EPs, 20 singles and 11 albums in a career that has seen her treading the boards in numerous stage productions. She's also graced the silver screen and has been a regular guest on variety and game shows. So please welcome the wonderfully talented Anita Harris.
That's absolutely lovely. Thank you, sweetheart. I learned, have I really done 12 albums?
Well, so it says.
Yes, no. It's lovely to recollect and to have you to remember everything. Hello, my darlings, both of you. Lovely to, I can see you and hear you. So we did have a false run, didn't we, darlings?
Yes, but
with
that's my age and technical. My son says I'm a technical dinosaur, and he's not wrong.
It's my lack of knowledge, darling, of technology. But anyway, we're here together. So
we made it.
Hi there, yes.
Now listen, Daddy grew up in war-torn Britain and his childhood was extremely difficult. What were you like as a child, and do you have a favourite childhood memory?
Well, I was born in an air raid. So my darling parents, they'd already had got Philip and David, my 2 brothers, and the sirens went off, and Daddy, when they went off from Bristol, they lived in Bristol, and Bath. They went to Bath after a while. When the sirens went off, Daddy shoved the family in the car and went out into the countryside until the all clear. I decided to arrive when he got to, so he dashed in Midsummer Norton in Somerset, my dears. The cottage hospital was full, but the midwife took my darling mum into her own house, and that's where I was born.
Wow.
And all those years later, when they did my This Is Your Life, they found this wonderful lady. So I met the lady that brought me into the world.
Oh, that's
so I think that's
fabulous.
A bit special. That's an incredible memory to have, and a bit unusual as well, I think.
Well, it's funny because when Dad was on This Is Your Life, they brought some people he'd been evacuated with, and yeah.
Isn't that great?
Amazing, you know.
Yes.
So what was your relationship with your parents like? Was it good?
Oh, the most beautiful. I've just been, because I've lost my darling Mike, I'm doing a lot of reminiscing, but also collating his works, and of course looking through so many photographs, and down memory lane. So my childhood was idyllic in a way. Daddy was he worked with his own father in cinemas, so at a young age I was watching Sonia Heaney skating on the movies, of course in those early days it was black and white films, so they would have an orchestra. So my father's love of music grew and grew and grew, instilled it into me. Mum was a country girl, straight down the middle, to get down to brass tacks, she would say. So the combination of the two and their love for each other, which lasted for 53 years, instilled itself into both my brothers and I, So put me into so that's an odd way of putting it. Went to a convent school that my brothers did as at 3 years old I was at the school, and one of those memories was that one day the hockey teacher was ill, and the nun said to David, my brother, do you know of anybody that plays hockey? My mum plays hockey. So they brought her in, and she went on to teach hockey for years and loved it. So,
Wow.
Just in a nutshell, I had a beautiful family life, and I relish it to beyond for the rest of my life. Yeah, always, darling.
Brilliant. Well, like Dad, you entered a talent show. Is that when you knew you wanted a life in show business?
No, I had no idea. I think you're good. Are you referring to the packet of sweets that I got when I sang? I sang, now is the hour when we must say goodbye. That was the hit song. Was that Anne Shelton or Dame Vera? God bless them. One of them. Anyway, it was a hit song. So I was 3 years old. I had no idea. Of course, I had no idea. The only thing I really wanted to do was when we all moved to Bournemouth was I started ice skating, and so did Philip and David, and they were off like a rocket. But I actually fell in love with the skating, and so that's really what sort of led me into knowing a bit more about the world of shows. And they used to put on shows at the Bournemouth ice rink, the Westover, and yes, and obviously I skated with a lovely young man of that. He was about, I was 12 or 13, so he must have been about 18 or 19, and his name was Courtney Jones, and he went on to become world ice dance champion for 5 years with two different partners, Doreen Denny and June Markham. And he, to pay for his skating tuition in Queen's Ice Rink in London, he became a dress designer as a apprentice, I suppose, with Hardy Amies.
Oh, right.
So to cut that story short, he befriended, of course, Torval and Dean, and he designed the bolero costumes, which they won the Olympics with. So that
Wow.
little circle of life, and we've remained friends. And I was speaking to him last week. He's now living in up north somewhere. So it's lovely to keep those friendships, isn't it,
Oh,
from your childhood
definitely.
days?
Definitely.
Hey,
It holds
yeah,
it holds our threads together, doesn't it, really?
yes, it does. Have you got lots of those?
Lots of threads.
Yeah, she's
Now,
putting together
Daddy
constantly.
was
Yeah.
influenced by Perry Como, Sinatra, and
Oh,
Winifred
of course,
Atwell. So who would
of
you say
course.
had the most profound impact on your life?
Oh, Doris Day. Before Calamity Jane, I was aware of her as a band singer. And because she then sang a lot of jazz, and she had a huskiness in her voice. And yes, I really, really loved that voice. But then, of course, when the film Calamity Jane came out, I was about 13, I think. And I've even heard other people say, in fact, Tony Blackburn is a Bournemouth boy as well, and he said he came out of the Gaumont at the Lansdowne having seen Calamity Jane, and we both, our feet are, we were just a foot off the ground with the joy of that performance. The movie was beautiful, but she just absolutely grasped that character and the songs. It was just perfect. So yes, yeah, I would say she was quite an influence.
So, when did you first become aware of Matt?
Oh, okay. From the skating, I had an audition. A talent scout saw me at Queen's ice rink, and I was again. My parents let me fly, bless their hearts. I was offered a job in Italy, in Brussels, as a dancer, and then went to Las Vegas in a show at the El Rancho Vegas, in an equivalent of the Bluebell Girls.
Right.
I was with the Charlie Ballet, and the show was good. La Nouvelle Eve. It was a French company. Anyway, Amy MacDonald was one of us,
Oh.
and we were both 16 years old, heavily chaperoned. My parents had to go to Bow Street and sign it for a chaperone. It was all properly done. And of course, the El Rancho was one of the very first, Vegas was one of the very first hotels that had not only a casino, but a theater. So we had a show, we did 3 shows a night, and across from the strip that we were on was Mae West. A bit further up, Victor Moan,
Oh,
that mellifluous voice.
yeah.
Okay, that ties me in with Darling Matt. and a bit further up, Louis Prima and Keely Smith, where I heard my first jazz after combining that with Doris Day. And then just a bit further up the strip was the Desert Inn, and of course, at that time, Blue Eyes, Mr. Blue Eyes, Frank Sinatra. So I was introduced to that that vocal and band sounds of an orchestra from the age of 16. And I just, we were taken, we had 3 shows a night, so we had 1 night off every 12 nights, and we're allowed to go and see one of the other shows. And I was introduced to Sinatra. I only had a couple of minutes backstage with him, but he said, "Hello, dear, you know, you want to go into this business, you know." But he was so charming. And you could see that I was talking to Richard about, just before we started our chat, about helping to young people blossom. And it's so important. And that those few minutes, those few tender minutes with Sinatra, wishing me luck with whatever I wanted to do in my life. But if I wanted a career, then I've got to go for it. And those sort of moments in your life remain with you forever, don't they?
Oh, they do.
Really,
Absolutely.
really paramount. But of course, then I came back and I joined the Cliff Adams Singers. And I was with Cliff Adams. Sing something simple as years go by. You're both too far young to
I remember it.
that.
I remember it.
We remember.
Yes.
Oh, Cliff was great. And of course, I learned harmonies and really concentrated on learning the music side and all of that. Then it became about 6 boys and 6 girls became the Grenadiers for a series on Granada Television called Song Parade. And one of those, a young man called Jerry Dorsey, who became Engelbert Humperdinck.
Yes.
So that led me to Tony Lewis, who was the manager at the time for John Barry, and the circle of his circle was Lionel Bart and Norman Yule and all the names that I want to bring in with remembering how I met your dear and darling father, Matt. Because that was the circle I was plonked into. I was 18. And so EMI Studios at that time, and I want you to put me right, Michele, I thought that Matt recorded Portrait of My Love at EMI with Norman. But having done a bit of research, I see it was George Martin.
It was, yeah. It was
Yes.
George, yeah.
So as we talk, I'd love to know a bit more about your memories and about your daddy being with Norman.
Well, just
who
going
I
back a
thought was
bit,
so
because
wonderful.
you spent 3 years with the Cliff Adams Singers and Dad performed with them many times. Is that where you actually first met?
It must have been, of course. And he would have been on the radio show, and he would have obviously come and been a guest on the Grenadiers show. Yes, of course. And even Nat King Cole was on those shows.
Wow.
So I was. That's another incredible memory of standing around the piano, and there he is playing the piano. So back to your dad. I couldn't remember anybody more fondly than how your daddy was so calm and kind and very gentle. And then when he would sing, it was Stradivarius, it was just so
Effortless.
his gift. It seemed effortless, but he must have studied, he must have studied the fact that Sinatra swam underwater to get his breathing to be such incredibly strong.
It's funny that you say that, because I didn't know that about Sinatra, but Dad always went to the swimming pool, especially when he was in summer season, and went underwater to hold his breath, and he always said it was to make his lungs stronger.
There you go.
I didn't know Sinatra did that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So it's most skills that people have been worked absolutely to the minutest perfection by whoever. I look at comedians, I look at magicians that I've worked with, other singers. The work that goes in to make it look easy is paramount to who and what we are, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, in
Yeah.
whatever walk of life.
Yeah, well, George Martin always used to say Daddy must have had 3 lungs.
Oh, oh, that's lovely.
So
That's
as you were
lovely.
saying, you were signed with Tony Lewis, John Barry's manager, and so
Yeah,
you made your first recordings at EMI in 1961, and that came out on Parlophone. So was that Norman Newell who produced that? Yeah, because
absolutely.
that's
Yes.
interesting. Because normally, if things that came out on Parlophone were George, so it's that's interesting.
Oh,
I hadn't realised that Norman's productions came out on Parlophone as well. So,
connection.
yes, because Norman,
Right. And of course,
yeah. So the Norman
Parlophone.
connection. Obviously, he wrote "Portrait of My Love," but he did produce Matt on one or 2 songs for a Parade of the Pops album. So he did actually produce Matt, but mainly it was George. So anyway, that session with Norman, do you have any particular memories of it? That very first.
It was called I Haven't Got You. I've got happiness in my smile. I have not seen. Oh, quite, I've
Yes.
forgotten
Oh,
all.
yes. I know.
Anyway,
I know the
sweet
recording.
little
It's written
song.
by Lionel
Oh,
Bart, of course.
yes. Well, how can I look back at those years and not just be so comforted by being in a rehearsal room with Lionel? He had a little studio in Covent Garden, and I went there to obviously learn the song. And then, of course, John Barry did the arrangement with all of those strings that that were, because he was the John Barry 7 before. He was a groupie. He was a boy group. And very, very into that sound that he gave to Adam Faith. He gave to all of us, and of course with dear Danny.
Danny
Danny
Williams. Yeah.
Williams. Yes, yes. Who went on, who again with Norman recorded Moon River. So they're very strong, those memories. Have you both been into EMI studios? I mean,
Yes.
it's with what has happened since I was there, with the Beatles and with all of the most amazing recordings that have gone on. I'm told the studio's still the same. You walk up this huge staircase up to the control room, and there was Norman, and there was, was Lionel and John Barry, and what a gift I had
Absolutely.
to be in that framework, really. But I was a little bit, if I'm honest, I was a little bit timid. I think a bit overwhelmed that Norman was recording Alma Cogan and Lita Rosa and Dennis Lotus and, all of those names of the day. And I suppose I was a bit overawed in a way. However, I think it must have been 1963, because then they launched the song and I was booked to do lots of radios and my first tellies and things like that. And then it was the equity strike in 1964,
Oh, yeah.
and I couldn't
Oh,
do
yeah. It was,
any of them.
yeah, but you
I was
had to
not
be a
allowed
member of
because I
Equity
was a
back
member of
then.
Equity.
Otherwise, you didn't work.
Was he the same? So was he he must have been in the same position then.
I think everybody was, because, I mean, I remember Daddy saying if you weren't an Equity member, then you weren't going to get any work.
So that's when I was sent off in the nicest possible way to tour Scotland with the Bachelors.
Oh, bless.
and dear Lonnie Donegan, with months and months driving around Scotland and north of England, doing all these little theatres and having pennies thrown at me, and lots of memories, darling. So anyway, of course, everything that stunts. I always say nothing is lost in life. Every experience
You gain
is
from.
is
Yeah.
worthwhile.
Yes.
We take it and gather it up with us,
Everything's
don't
a
we?
lesson, isn't it?
Yes, yes, darling. But
So did you know Lionel well?
at the time, yes, at the time, we are talking about the 60s, and we are talking about this is Lionel's real creation time,
Yes.
his
Yes.
creative period. He was firing on all cylinders, and of course, it was also the time of Oliver, and how wonderful that show was, how wonderful his music was, and yes. I dreamed of playing Nancy, but of course it was beautifully portrayed. I've forgotten her name. Isn't that awful? At this very moment.
It's a long time ago.
Georgia Brown.
Georgia Brown, absolutely. Yes, who did the
God,
original,
she was
yes.
so lovely. I met her with Lionel. She was strong, but she was so straight down the middle. They actually loved each other. You could tell they were so of a kin.
Yeah.
The kinship between them was so natural and vibrant. And again, of course it took off because of that, because of their absolute joy of finding each other in life, and being able to push that forward and do that incredible show.
And
So, but I was a tiny little acorn in that little mountain of
yes, but
of
acorns
talent.
grow into oak trees,
Indeed.
Now, listen, you worked with magician David Nixon for 8 years in the 70s, and Dad appeared
Yes.
on the show in 1972 with Freddie Davis and
Oh,
Rod Hull. Did you did? I don't suppose your paths crossed there then.
which year was that, darling?
Daddy was on in 72 on the David Nixon show.
Yes, I don't. I think I might have. I did, as you said, 8 years. I don't remember that,
No, well, I mean, it was
but
just I was trying to find things where you'd crossed
links. Yes,
paths. And in fact, it was David Nixon who proposed Dad to the Society of Water Rats. Now, the Grand Order of Water Rats, to give it its full title, is the oldest,
yes.
most famous show business charity organisation in the world. Are you a lady rattling?
I'm not a lady rattling, but I've done umpteen shows for them, and I think they do an incredible job. And my darling Mike, we were with so many. Oh, you look back at those names
I know.
of the past, and one has to tribute the ghosts of our industry, because without them, from the very I mean, we're talking about what is it? How many years with the the Grand Order of Water Rats? It's got to be 60 years, 70 years.
Oh, it's been
Or,
going longer than that.
right, so it's music hall time, really, isn't it?
Oh,
The
yeah, it
Arthur Astley and
started
all.
in
Yes,
the vaudeville days.
yes, exactly. So by golly, yes, and obviously got friends still rats and lady rattlings. My life's kind of was too. I spent too much time away to be a member of a group, and at the time I was also with the cricketers, the Lords and Lady
Taverners,
Taverners,
yes.
Yeah.
and the Variety Club. We, all of us in our business, you're linked to, and I'm very proud to be a part of being able to help a charity. But you can't do them all. To gift
It's
all of
difficult
them.
to spread your
But
time. I mean, Dad was a member of the Stars Organisation for Spastic,
yes,
and when
yes.
he became a
Oh,
water rat, it was difficult because he felt he had to give an amount of his time, but it was
yes.
difficult.
That was Dickie Henderson, wasn't it? Dickie Henderson was with the Society
Oh
SOS.
yes, sorry,
Yes, I beg your
yeah, yeah.
pardon. I drifted there.
Yeah, well, I mean, he did a lot of work for charity. But
Yeah.
it was funny because one of the rules of being a water rat is you have to wear your pin, your emblem
Yes,
at
your
all
rat,
times.
little rat.
And Daddy
Yes.
was a stickler for, because if he found someone who didn't have his emblem on, he could fine them.
It was a fiver.
and he fined everybody, even on the beach in Barbados.
Oh, bless.
And listen,
Hang
I
on, where'd
read you also
Where'd you
appeared.
put a badge on the beach in
Yeah,
Barbados?
exactly, where they were bare-chested. So Daddy had his put on a chain round his neck, so he always had it on, you know.
That was the secret.
Now, I read that you also appeared on the Morecambe and Wise show in 71, which was the same year as
Yes.
Daddy. But the tapes are lost, of course. I don't suppose you're on the same episode.
I wasn't.
No.
I wasn't.
We're
But I'm
trying
just,
to
I think
find that
we-
tape.
Yeah.
well, I've got one with them, so they are around.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, Richard will back me up here. So much of what Dad's did is missing from the archives. His Eurovision Song Contest, his Royal Command, just the one episode's missing from the archives.
If Matt was in an episode of a series, if Matt was in a series and there's one episode that's missing, it would be the one with Matt in it that's missing. I don't know why it's worked out like that.
Why. It's the only Eurovision missing from the archive.
You know what? Now that you're doing these podcasts and getting an audience, you might find somebody who was a huge fan.
Well, we always ask.
A video.
We always ask.
Yeah, good.
I always beg.
Good.
And this is just as an interesting aside to that. I mean, obviously, did you work on any other TV shows with Matt? Because we look into obviously Matt's TV career, but obviously there's so much missing, but also a lot of details of the show missing. So we've actually no idea whether you ever appeared in the same TV show with Matt.
Well, I think we might have done a Bruce Forsyth together. And we might have done, again, it's archival, isn't it? It's looking back. But, I think we did a lot of radio together.
Right.
And that and at the Players Theatre down on the Embankment used to be the Saturday Club. Gosh, I'm sure he would have done a lot of those, and even
he did. We've got quite a few, but not with you.
Oh, that would be wonderful if we could find that together.
It would.
And also, I am going back, but we did Workers' Playtime, I'm sure. You used to drive down to all these factories or get a train or whatever to all these factories, and it was a wonderful show actually called Workers' Playtime. And they'd put an orchestra in there and a band or whatever, and we'd go and sing and have, in a factory. God, I am drifting a lot, aren't I? I don't want to be
not at all.
We're reminiscing.
Indeed.
Well, you and Dad were billed to take part in 2 Thanet shows to raise money for the little boy Anthony Nolan, who needed a bone marrow transplant.
Yes.
And Dad topped the bill at the Granville Theatre, Ramsgate, on Sunday the 7th of March 1976, and Roy Castle headed the production at the Winter Gardens in Margate on the 4th of April. Which lineup did you appear in?
With Roy, I'm afraid. I'm so sorry.
Fair enough. Next. Well, here's another. In June 1977, you and Dad donated your services in the Silver Jubilee celebrations. Now, there were 12 Jubilee decorated floats. Were you and Dad on the same one, or did you just wave at each other?
Shall we say cheerio now? This is not going the right way, is it, darling?
No, it's all exploration, isn't it?
Okay, well, that's good. We'll explore together. I'm very interested in, when I was listening to some of your podcasts, which are fantastic, that Dad was in the army. And having done 12 CSE tours with Harry Seacombe, I'm such a genuine fan of admiring, of making sure that our ladies and gentlemen of the services are not forgotten, and doing a lot now for the Not Forgotten Society. But your dad was obviously after ENSA, but it was the start, I think, of broadcasting from the forces, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Which your daddy did a lot. And of course, what a wonderful. I read that all of his mates were so genuine, supporting him from that very early stage, and that must have been a huge help for your dad, mustn't it? Hey,
Well, I mean, he was very into
did he ever
giving
talk to you
back.
about it?
Well, no, I think this is the sadness of when we get to an age where we think back and think, oh, I wish I'd asked Daddy this or that or the
Yes,
other. But,
yes,
Dad was
yes.
so busy and he worked overseas 9 months of most years. And he'd come home and there'd be George Martin there and they were rehearsing and there was radio interviews and TVs. You didn't get much chance to sit down and go, by the way, who was your best friend at school? Or,
Yeah,
it was difficult. And we all think in retrospect, oh, I wish I'd had the chance to interview him almost.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But again, those would have been substantial times in his life that he would have probably recollected in his own
Well, I know that his army days
memory
was some
bank.
of his happiest. He loved being based in Hong Kong. He made great friends. And in fact, when he was at Talk of the Town and he'd come off stage, the stage manager came to the dressing room and he said, there's a couple of guys down there. They say they want to see Terry. And Daddy knew immediately that they were his army
Wonderful.
mates because they were the only ones that called him Terry, which was, of course, his real name.
Oh, bless. Well, there you go. It's we are made up of who we were, and a change of name doesn't change the person,
Not
does
at
it?
all.
No.
Thinking back to his early recordings and his relationship with George Martin, which
Oh, well, George and him were best friends. And in fact, they wanted to go and do the, what's that? Le Mans together. And they got really excited about it and planning this and that. Then they found out that it would actually have to mean that they'd have to be away a week and they literally couldn't fit it into their schedules. But George came up with this wonderful idea of Daddy recording at night.
Oh, yes.
So he took Johnny Spence and Daddy for dinner and they got piddled and they went in the studio and were corpsing on the floor most of the time.
Yeah, they were supposed to record a whole album in one evening, which is the sort of thing that they used to do back in those days. They got about
3-hour session.
Yeah, and they got about 4 tracks done. And they're really good because it's just Matt with Johnny Spence and a bass player and a drummer. It's really basic stuff. There's really nice recordings, but yeah, they were just too sozzled to do it completely.
But it was actually funny because one of my favourite songs of Dad, It's the Wrong Time, came out of that session, and it's so jazzed, and he lets rip, like, I'm going to have fun here. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's the only time he's singing real jazz. It's completely, they're just, let's go in the studio and have fun with something. And they just did one take of this, and it's joyful. It really is.
I think your dad would join me in a little round of applause for how lucky we were with the musicians that we worked with of that era.
Yes.
Okay. If I may just mention something, even I was doing a show 2 weeks ago, and the drummer, the trumpeter, and the oboe player came into my dressing room, and they said, "You work with our dads," and they were with the Ted Heath band,
Oh,
Right.
wow.
and and all of those guys. Your dad would have worked with them all because they were all doing sessions after sessions after sessions.
And he did record with the Ted Heath band for the BBC.
They were the cream. And I think did your dad do a series with Yvonne Littlewood directing at the
Yes,
BBC?
many times.
Yes,
and in fact,
because she
Dad's
did.
ambition when he was growing up was to sing with the Ted Heath band, and he couldn't know that years later they would be his backing band on broadcast.
Oh,
It was such a
there you
thrill
go.
for him,
There you go. The element now of having to go into a studio and there's a keyboard God bless the keyboard. And if I may say, David Nixon was, and David's father-in-law created the first mellotron, which then became
Oh,
the
goodness,
keyboard.
yes.
So, all of these memories are coming back while I'm talking to you. But it doesn't compare with walking into a studio with a full orchestra and the strings. I mean, as you said, with all of Matt's recordings, that sound, that wall of sound, and the beauty of each instrument, and the engineers of the
Oh, the
day,
engineers,
and
yes, definitely. They
and it was all on tape, a tape
straight to
being
tape,
cut, and
no multi-tracking,
yes,
just
exactly,
everybody in the orchestra,
exactly,
everybody in the same room, straight to
yeah,
tape, and the glorious sound.
yeah,
Stuart Eltham was
yes,
the guy who recorded most of Matt's early material, and he was an absolute
really,
genius behind the recording console.
yes,
What he could get
yes,
out of
where they
that.
placed the mic.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not hundreds of microphones either. It's minimal numbers of microphones. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
beauty
And
of
of course, Dad's nickname was One Take Monro, which all the musicians
Oh,
loved that, didn't they?
yes.
they did, because he could do it, and he gave 1,000% every time. But also, when you listen to the recordings, I think everybody just melts. I melt, you melt. You just sit back and allow it to just waft over. Oh, God bless him. He had, God gave him the talent, but by golly, he used it to the nth degree, didn't he,
Well, I do
darlings?
agree, but then
Yeah.
I am slightly biased, darling.
Do you have a favourite? Do you have a favourite recording of Matt?
I think Portrait of My Love is up there, but then you've got My Kind of Girl. Oh gosh, I loved when he did a swing album as well. He could swing
Yes.
beautifully, couldn't he? Again, the musicians, and the gift of that. I think he was born in his right era, don't you? But to be allowed to grow within that time. But also, let's not forget that we talk of swing, but there was also the swinging 60s was happening, when there was a slightly
Yes. Yeah,
different
he held his own
power.
in a time where
Yes, yes,
the
yes,
beat sound, I suppose, was
yes,
king, and
yes,
he kept going, and so
at
many people
foremost,
fell
yeah.
by the wayside.
Yes, my darling, they did. And I think that again tells you the power that when something is true, which was true to your father, was allowed to just be there and just grow and grow. Yeah, God bless
Well, you've
him.
done so much over your career. So, what's your least favourite job to date?
Oh, by golly.
Spill the beans, Anita.
I actually look back on most things with great gratitude. I also remember a few shows where I hadn't done my homework properly, and I did a huge telly show live at I think it was either the Grand at Blackpool, but it was with Lord Grade, and I sang one of Petula's songs and totally blew the words. I absolutely forgot the words halfway through. Full theatre audience, and stay with me. It makes me shudder to this day. I somehow carried on, but you come off there and you just feel, oh, why didn't I do something that I knew so well instead of trying something new? So we just talked about lessons. By golly, I think we all now
Yeah.
know you stick to what you know rather than
Yes, but
trying to
you
be
say
somebody
that. I
else.
mean, obviously, Dad knew his songs backwards. And yet Tony Hancock, and he never forgot this, said to him one night, "You can go on stage and fluff your lines and no one's the wiser." But he said, "I've got to go and be funny every night." And that really stayed with Daddy because, yes, half the time the audience didn't know you'd spoken or sung the wrong lines. They were just in awe of the sort of the singer, the artist in front of them. They didn't even know he'd fluffed a line. And those words of Tony's really stayed with him.
That dug deep,
It did.
didn't it? That, yes. I think because you've been with your dad, you must have been with so many comics as I've been gifted with. They, I really take my hat off to them, don't
couldn't
you?
do it.
Yeah.
You mentioned Tony Hancock. A lot of, and with Frankie Howard and so many others, a lot of comedians have this, the masks of theatre,
Yes.
tragedy
Yes.
and comedy, because they're actually basically frightened.
They're so full of
and
their
they have
own
to overcome.
insecurities, I found.
Yes.
That they're
Yes.
almost a mess when they come off stage. It's like an ordeal.
Yes.
Whereas Daddy, and I'm
Yes.
sure you did, it just came off with adrenaline buzzing and like, wow, that was amazing. But, if a comic goes
Yeah.
wrong, you die a death out there, don't you?
Well, a comic's soundboard is the audience. We have the orchestra. That's the difference. And if the audience are happy, that's even better. But no, I very much relate, especially having worked with so many comics, to what they have to overcome. But then you get somebody like Tarby, who I worked with when we were both in our 20s, and we did pantomime together. And you could actually you could put a sound tape or a vibe, and hear the audience. And as his 20 minutes became 5, 10, the audience would laugh, and then they would start to guffaw, and then the belly laughs would come, and he would just grow in the sound of the audience grew. He had this incredible knack, talent, of really getting that audience into the palm
I
of his
think Bob
hand.
Monkhouse was the
But
same, wasn't he?
Oh dear!
But they
God,
were
yes,
literally
as well.
masters of their art.
Correct. Absolutely correct. And as singers, of course, your daddy would be the same. We often guested on their shows, like with Morecambe and Wise, like with Bob Monkhouse, like with Les
Dawson.
and so many of these gorgeous, wonderful, talented men, not realizing or not really appreciating, not me anyway, until I was much older, how much work they had to put
Incredible.
into getting the foundation. I learnt that really with Eric and Ernie. The week's rehearsal was very solid to get that foundation so solid that they could enjoy it, that they could maybe digress a bit.
Well, Daddy worked with Dave Allen a lot, and they were really good friends. And when they were in Australia together, every morning Dave Allen would go out and buy every newspaper, and he'd sit there for hours reading every story, however inconsequential, and from that he would garner his thoughts, processes, sketches, lines, and that's how he worked. He was very methodical.
Well, I absolutely adhere to that. Mike and I got to know Dave Allen very well because we worked on the the Braden Beat shows, and on those shows, Dave was a regular, and what a charming man. But you're right, to do that research and then be able to use that research and throw it at the audience and get that reaction. But also on those shows with Peter Sellers, Spike Milligan, Harry, Dudley Moore, Peter Cook. Oh, I was enriched with being around these people.
Yeah. They were
You know?
amazing. Well, we'll change the
Yeah.
subject slightly insofar as Dad loved trying new foods when travelling abroad, and he was quite an accomplished cook. And talking about food, you were a contestant on BBC's Celebrity MasterChef. So if you could have dinner with anyone, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Oh my goodness. Winston Churchill. Um,
Why?
because being a war baby, I was brought up, I guess, with the knowledge of what he did for our country. I know that there are lots of other stories about him, but for my mum and dad, he was the king, really. Well, talking of kings, that would be nice, wouldn't it, King Charles? Um, and then joined with Bette Midler.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's throw
Indeed. Yes.
a few.
Purples.
Yes.
Excellent.
So we were privileged to have the wonderful Bobby Crush on our podcast not so long ago, and
Well, he should have been on my list, shouldn't he? God bless him.
and he, of course,
Hang on. Isn't he lovely?
and you, of course, both appeared on the series Last Laugh in Vegas in 2018. What was
Yeah.
it like, and did you get on with everybody in the house?
What was it like? It was my first factual TV program, so I was the new girl. Um, we went out with such incredible company, didn't we? Bobby. Bobby has become a very dear friend, but we also share the Norman Yule history of his life with Norman and that era, although he's 100 years younger than me, but bless his heart. So went out there with darling Sue Pollard and Cannonball and Mick Miller and Bernie Clifton, who was talking about your dad, and Jess Conrad, who was talking about your dad on a beautiful program about your father. I hope you've obviously seen it.
I have.
It's on the internet. Oh, they talk so beautifully about your dad, and lots of laughs as well. So with all of those people, it was a team of like-minded people. We've all worked together. What we all knew was that what they would want from us would be for not to get on together.
Of course.
And for us to end up, there was a program I saw with a few artists who'd done a seafaring show together, and they were seen coming off at the end of being together for 2 weeks. Reminds me of this, and you could hear them saying, "And if I never see you again, that would be too soon." And I think the Last Laugh team wanted us to be exactly like that. And if I never see you again, I think they picked people of a certain age. We were a bit long in the tooth and tried not to let things get under our skin. However, they did test us. We were tested. We were woken up at 4 a.m, taken out into the desert, waited for until lunchtime until we were interviewed. So all those hours in the heat.
So they were trying to irritate
and they
you.
did test us. Yeah. And of course, there were moments where, at the time, my darling husband was very poorly and I didn't know whether I should go. I was pulled in 2 directions. But I realized that I would be, I've used the word before, but with kinship, with kindred spirits. So the answer, darlings, to that big question that everybody wants to know, that we began to hate each other, we actually were drawn together, and it was Kenny Lynch.
Gorgeous Kenny,
yeah, darling Kenny. And of course, once the show itself began, we were all in our element, and we're dear
did
friends.
Did it fulfill a dream, or was it the reality series that attracted you to it? Did you have that dream?
Well, of course, for me, it was going back. I was there when I was 16. when Las Vegas was just literally a desert with one major highway, Route 66, and a few hotels that became casinos and theaters, cabaret rooms, to now being, they might have invited me back before. After 50 years, there's this monstrosity of high-flying places. I say monstrosity, it buzzes like it's wonderful. And of course, it was a dream come true. Yes, we were all happy to be there.
But that was 7 years ago. Have you seen any of them since, other than Bobby?
Oh, Sue, we're always together with Sue. And of course, I've done a show with dear Tommy Cannon, because I do a lot of work with lovely Freddie Parrotface Davis. We're going out. We go out now with an audience with, and Freddie put on a show last year, and dear Tommy, we were all together on lots of shows together, and God bless him, having lost his partner, that they were so together. But he paid tribute, and Bobby will never ever leave, or never ever not be part of him.
So no dirt to spill then. That's very sad.
Sorry, love. Sorry.
Listen, show business is full of risks. So what's the biggest risk you've ever taken, and did it pay off?
Oh, golly. You are coming out with some questions. I think every show is a risk, to be honest.
I mean, for instance, with that show in Vegas, was there a part of you that went, oh, I don't know, this might be risky after all these years, or something like that, but it did pay off in the end?
I did not, certainly not with that. As I said, I was slightly pulled because of my darling husband. But risk taking is something that I honestly feel that we did many, many times, but probably only realized in retrospect. Risk was going. I noticed that your dad with Eurovision, he did a lot of song festivals, and so did I. I mean, 1964 was Knock-La-Zoot, so that was my first with going over to be in a song festival, and then the San Remo Song Festival, and then Rio de Janeiro, which was 50,000 people in the Maracanãzinho, and probably risked wearing too short a Mary Quant outfit.
Well, you've accomplished a lot in the business, but it can be a hard slog, sprinkled with ups and downs. So what motivates you when times are tough?
I'm lucky enough to have been born an optimist. And I really believe, I mean, Mike was my love, but my mentor, and he gave me courage beyond dreams. He would, a bit like, and also I give credit to Bernie Braden, who also would throw, this is risk taking, he would throw a song at me, like a Blossom Dearie, who I in those days had never heard of. Right, you're singing this tomorrow, and that's live television, So a song, and I remember to this day, called May I Come In. Speaking of the devil, well, here I am, may I come in? Feeling like a lost and lonely lamb, may I come in? Don't stand, a beautiful, beautiful song that I won't sing it all, obviously, to bore the pants off you, but those are risks. Those are the risks you take when somebody throws something at you, and you either pick up the challenge or whatever. And my Mike would say, "Go for it. Come on, you can do it." With using my descant voice or my low voice, try it. Nothing's lost. It's a bit like this, on podcast that you're sending me into.
So was that the best advice you'd ever received?
Oh, I think so. Advice. We always think of advice after, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, Dad regretted not staying in the States when he was signed to Capitol. It was a really bad career decision. Do you have a decision you've regretted?
I would tell you about it because I'm writing about it, but I don't. It's because a decision was made for me from two gentlemen that I am so grateful for the rest of my life. So there's a dichotomy here. I was doing Carry On Doctor. I'd done Carry On, Follow That Camel with Phil Silvers, and doing the carry-ons was a dream come true. But Peter Rogers and Gerald Thomas were aware that I had at the same time Just Loving You, that dear Tom Springfield wrote for me, and Dusty made sure that I sang it, was a hit in America. It was number 5. And the Ed Sullivan Show came through for me whilst I was filming Carry On Doctor, and it would have meant me flying out on a Friday, but not coming back till the Monday. And they wouldn't let me go. They said, you have to be here on the Monday. Now, at the time, because life was opening up anyway, everything was very busy and wonderful. It didn't hit me. It was only a few years later that it hit me and thinking, oh my goodness me, Ed Sullivan in those days,
yes,
found all of that talent and where it went to. I mean, to the moon and back. But then, would I have remained me? Would I have gone in a totally different direction with my life? Who knows? And I say it. I use the name of Gerald Thomas and Peter Rogers with affection, because without them, those films that are still, each generation seems to pick them up. So we don't know where our lives are going, do we? And we don't know. So we can't regret. It's just,
well, Dad had a very similar thing in that he was in Vegas working and got asked to do the Royal Command, and they wouldn't give him 3 days off. And in fact, one of the days the theatre was dark anyway. So he flew home and flew back the next day and had to perform that night in order to be able to do it.
There you go. That's the character that I didn't have.
Yeah, but he met Sammy Davis, Morecambe and Wise. It was a wonderful night for him, but he would have loved to have been there and sort of soaked in, the atmosphere and kick back and talk shop for a while. But, you never know which is the right path, do you?
Nope.
No, and we're guided a lot of the time with, the people we respect and who we love and who are around us. And nobody gets everything right all the time, and life isn't like that, is it, darling?
Well, here's one for you. What's the most difficult thing you've ever apologised for?
Ooh. Go.
Yes, please.
What's the list? I'm apologising now to so many people that it's too late to apologise to. Oh, golly. Yes, in Las Vegas, I borrowed a petticoat from one of the other girl dancers, and I forgot to give it back to her. And it wasn't until we got back to England that I was reminded. I did send it back to her, but with a huge apology. But she was miffed at the time.
Well,
definitely.
you remember it, so you must have felt guilty.
Do you remember those petticoats? Were you around?
I did wear
then?
petticoats,
In
yeah.
the
I used to be an
60s?
air stewardess. You used to have to wear them.
Oh, darling, how did you get down the aisle?
It was hard.
Not a straight petticoat.
Oh, no, I
These
had
were fluffy
straight ones.
petticoats. And talking of petticoats, we can talk of knickers with Bernie.
Breslaw.
Bernie
Bernie
Clifton, darling Bernie
Yeah.
Breslaw. I did the films with, and Panto a lot. He was lovely. No, you talk to Bernie Clifton now, and that was what happened in Vegas. Okay, I told you about being called at 4 a.m. in the morning, so I quickly washed my knickknacks and put them out on a windowsill, thinking by the time I get back they'll be dry. So we go out we're all separated, by the way, into different things happening during the day. And I got back about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and no knickknacks. They had blown the Sahara wind and had blown my knickknacks onto the swimming pool, onto the trees, the tops of the umbrellas. And Sue and Bernie Clifton got a broom from the cupboard in the house and were picking off my knickknacks. And oh gosh, to this day, I get an email from Bernie saying, "I found another pair." So we have knickknacks as an ongoing little story between us.
That's
Oh,
cute.
bless. Yeah, lovely. All these people in our
So
lives,
what's
darling.
something
yeah,
our listeners
lovely.
might be surprised to hear you admit? So what do you feel has been the highlight of your illustrious career then?
Many. I think singing to Her Majesty Queen Mother, doing so many royal varieties. I think that there are times that we kind of grow into ourselves, and it took me a long time to grow into myself. And I was lucky enough, dear Robert Nesbitt had me, and this is another thing I think is a link with Dad, at the Talk of the Town. I did 5 series, and it wasn't until the 5th, they're 5 weeks each time. And I know your dad played it a lot.
Him and Tony Bennett had a contest, and he ended up, they did 9 each, and before it closed, so it was a draw.
Really? How wonderful. Isn't that lovely? That's a lovely story. And the 5th time I was there, they were going to video it and record it. And Mike and I worked really hard in preparation. And on that night of the recording, I think I suddenly just became myself properly for the very first time. You know, you kind of struggle with yourself. You think, am I any good? Am I doing all right? All of those thoughts and processes. But that night, it happened. And the fact that I'm lucky enough that it was recorded is by the by. It was a moment in my life that I felt comfortable. I felt I knew who I was. All of those things that we kind of, struggle with at times. So that was a very important night of my life. I think being married to my darling Mike was very important, and the love of my family. The career and the gratitude I have for it, and the sometimes awfulness of losing a lot, metaphorically and reality, make you stronger. And so we all grow into ourselves, I hope, darlings. And here we are talking about your lovely dad and reminiscing. And am I right? I was at the Prince of Wales with Frankie Howard in a show called This Way Out. Anyway, we were doing a review at the Prince of Wales, and the unbelievably wonderful Judy Garland was at the Talk of the Town, and she was having these struggling nights. Your dad stepped in. I know that I was like 5th on the list. They had Vince Hill on standby. They had I think even Lonnie Donegan on standby. And because I was in the West End, I could have just, literally gone across the road, really. But your daddy did step in one night, didn't he? Had to, as well as Tarby. Tarby did as well. So when you look at that multiple talent and that genius and that sensitivity of what was Judy Garland, and how she connected with her audience, when you look at that and the sadness of how it all ended, we all have to stop occasionally, don't we, and just say, hey, smell the roses. This is, aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky? you know. And that again reminds me of a song called Aren't We Lucky, which was written by Kenny Clayton, who was at one time with your daddy in Australia
Loved
with Don
Kenny,
Black.
loved
Am I
Kenny.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So God bless him. Yeah. So we're talking about, sadly, people that are up
Yeah.
in heaven, but remembering them, you know, and born free. That's your daddy's, isn't it?
So, what?
Yeah. Sorry, have we gone down?
No,
That's all
no,
right.
Have we gone
not
a
at all. So,
bit sad?
looking back at your career, then, how would you define success?
What is success?
Well, that's what we're asking you.
So cheeky. Well, success, I think, is a bit of what I've just said.
How did you feel when you first saw your name in lights as headliner?
Incredibly wonderful, and that was at the Batley Variety Club. And we arrived for the Sunday rehearsal, and there it was, the headlights, big headlights. And then on the Saturday night, you're reminded, as you're driving off, they're taking your name down and putting somebody
Yes.
else's up.
I don't know.
It's reality, Michelle. It's
Those are the
reality.
moments, really, that make up success, aren't they? When you feel, do you know what? I've made
Oh,
it a little bit.
yes.
You know, I'm here. I've
Yes.
arrived.
Yes.
Like when you said you performed for the Queen
yeah.
Mother, you must have had such a buzz.
Oh, I actually did my interpret. I was a great fan of music hall, and Mike was writing a series about the first male impersonator
Tilly, yeah.
called Vesta Tilly, who sang Bellington Bertie, and after the ball, and I did that whole sequence, and then when how. The lineup of all the artists on the night of a Royal Variety show. The curtain comes down and you're all on stage and you're waiting, and she comes, the Queen or whoever is the royal person that night comes stage left. We know that journey onto the side of the stage, and there she was with her tiara, looking like an angel. And when she got to me, she said, "Burlington Bertie, what a treat." Again, you never forget these little things, do you? You know, they just stay on your shoulder like your best friend from a childhood time, you know.
What do you think is your biggest failure? And what did you learn from the experience?
I was, it took me a long time to have courage in this business. And in fact, in my teenage years, I was so nervous all the time that I got a peptic ulcer, you know, and it wasn't really until I met Mike, and he was so, he instilled in me, I guess the word would be a peace. And then also a few directors who would kindly say, "What's the point? If you're not enjoying it, what's the point? Why are you doing this?" And I suppose in a way that's why I related so much to some of the comics who had this fear. So
I just wondered if you had your biggest failure, and did you learn from it?
my school reports.
I had a few of them. Michelle could do better.
Must do better.
Well, listen, I mean, the business is a very different one to when you and Dad first started. So what advice would you give to someone starting in the industry today? Because it's so different, isn't it?
Okay, there's one word. Believe. Believe. And that came from when I first started to play Peter Pan. I had a wonderful director called Pauline Grant. She actually directed Jimmy Tarby and I, and Sue Nichols and Mr. Pastry, and lovely cast in Cinderella. She was asked for me to do Peter Pan, and so we talked about J.M. Barrie and the story of this little boy who never wanted to grow up, and how because I'm rather tall, how I could create that etherealness of the boy who flew. And it was first played in 1913, I think, by a lady called Nina Busico. And Pauline helped me research the years that Peter Pan had been played, from Nina Busico down to all of the beautiful actresses that have played it. And she said, "Well, what are you bringing to it? What can you?" And it was the musical side. I had two songs, wonderful songs written for me. But she said, "You must be that character, and you must believe that you can fly. And if you believe, those children in that audience will believe." So that has never left me. And I think any child growing up now that has a true feeling of wanting to go, they call it show business. It is a business. I took years to learn that. But with all of the trappings and all of the times that we're pushed away, that we're not liked, nobody wants what we do. If you believe that you have something that, if it's a gift, I'm a bit spiritual, if it's a gift, but if you really want to do something, whatever walk of life, if you believe in it, stay with that belief, and that will see you through.
Good words. And Daddy always said the worst fate that could befall him was getting to a hotel with no television in it. He didn't care what he watched. It was his escapism. Now, not including the love of your life, your wonderful husband, Mike, what's the one thing you can't live without?
The telly, just like Matt.
Me too.
It's such a comfort thing.
It is.
It's a comfort blanket because you can switch off. You normally you're absolutely, can I say, knackered when you get to a hotel because you've been packing, you've been traveling. Until the lockdown, I was in the wonderful musical Cabaret playing Fräulein Schneider. But you're up and down the country. You're living out of a suitcase. You get into a hotel and
love it.
Put the telly on. Plonk yourself on the bed, and that's it. Put the kettle on.
I'm looking forward to Strictly. Do you like that? And would you appear in it?
Oh, I'd love to do Strictly. Of course I
was
would.
telling Bobby he should do it.
Oh, how wonderful. I love to dance. Yeah. Oh,
it would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, he was somewhat against the idea, though.
Yes.
He was against it.
But he's...
Well, I'll make sure the producers hear this podcast. And listen, what song best represents your life, do you think?
I think Just Loving You, if I'm honest. There are lots of beautiful songs around. I know your dad has sung When the World Was Young, Christmas, the Christmas songs that bring us all into lovely family, that lovely warm round the fireplace feeling. Probably Bill Haley and the Rockets or a bit of Elvis, because those were my early days. We used to, I used to dance to all of Rock Around the Clock and all of those wonderful, that was with the frilly petticoat.
Now listen, you haven't written a book yet on your fabulous life. What would the title be if your worst enemy wrote it?
Oh, she's back. I don't know, but I am writing it, and I've been trying to get it together.
You and Bobby,
I really
both,
must.
He's been doing it for years. But you did, however, write Physical Food, the Triple F System Cookbook in 1998.
Well, have done
the
your
Triple F
homework.
stands for fitness, feel good, and food. So, how important is healthy eating?
Come on, then, let's. And a 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, and a 5, 6, 7, 8.
So, how important is healthy eating, physical well-being, and exercise to you? And do you have a set routine each day?
I do, because I feel better when I've I don't do an hour like I used to do. It's more of a 10-minute thing, but I do because it wakes me up. I stretch, and I do put music on. I mean, there's a lot of, I have to say, classic FM these days, but I'll put on ABBA, or I'll put on, I've still got some Lonnie Donegan.
Yeah.
Anything that gets you going, anything that helps you to wake up, but move the body, move that body, and get out of the four walls if you can. Just walk or get out
Well,
there,
talking
darling.
of books, as you know, I wrote a book on Dad's life, The Singer, The Life and Music of Matt Monro, and you attended the book launch. Did you enjoy the night?
Oh, well, to be there, your mummy was there, wasn't she?
No.
No, she wasn't,
Sorry.
unfortunately.
Sorry, it was. I was with your mummy at.
Unfortunately, because it took almost 4 years in the making, and Mum got ill at the end, and they did bike over the first copy of the book. They biked it to the house,
darling.
and then she said to me, "Mish, I can't come," and I knew then that she wasn't going to be around very long. Very sad. But then you know what she said? You're a Monro, and you're going, and you're going to do what your dad would do, and that's get on with it.
Yes. But so when I was with your mummy, it was when we did that recollection of. I'm sorry, chronology is not my best thing, but anyway, we have shared times with your lovely mum, and I did visit your beloved father in the Cromwell to see him hospital, and I think, darling, when we have known of a beautiful artist like your dad, and then had the pleasure of knowing that person off stage and in a normal atmosphere, you tend to know the true spirit of somebody. And I think when you talk about the book launch, that's the best thing that you could have done, as you are indeed with Richard now doing these podcasts. You are keeping him and his voice alive. And it's so important to you, obviously, but it's lovely that the new world can be hearing that, and in this world of of technology, it's being replaced. It's replacing almost as if your dad is still here and is out there doing it, which is rather wonderful.
Your late husband and soulmate, Mike Margolis, Pete Murray, and your good self wrote a wonderful poem about Dad that you read out on the night of the book launch. Was it your idea?
Well, Mike was prolific in being able to encapsulate how I felt and how he would feel. And you talk about Dear Pete, yes, to Pete Murray. It was a collaborative, but with a centre core of how we wanted to remember your dad.
It was
Very
lovely.
much
I mean,
so.
it was so unexpected. We read it out on the podcast, didn't we, Richard?
Oh,
Yes, we did. Yes.
How lovely.
You know.
How
So
lovely.
it was a lovely night, you know.
Thank you,
So
darling.
what's one question you wish I'd asked you, and how would you have answered it?
What's for supper?
Fair enough.
So, is there any one particular memory concerning Matt that particularly stands out?
There was one, because in those very early days when I told you it must have probably been when the equity strike was on, I found myself Mike was with me, but Matt was actually on his own. Did he travel in those early days? Did he travel alone, or would he have had...
No, he had Bob West with him.
Oh, lovely
you remember Bob West?
Bob was my company manager
He
when I
was
did
with
Cats.
Daddy for years.
Oh, lovely, dear Bob.
Yeah, bless
God,
him.
what a darling. Well, Bob wasn't there then. This was even earlier. However, it was a, if I can say it, it was a dive. We were booked to do this club in a basement somewhere, And I think we spent most of the time at the bar, to be honest. And the governor of the place said, "Right, who's on first? Who's going on first?" And Matt looked at me, and I looked at him, and we went, "We don't mind." And that was exactly the memory of your dad. There was no pontification. There was no "I'm the best." There's no. He was generous of spirit, and I took that with me all my life. So.
Well, you said
Generous guy.
a little while ago that was when Dad was admitted to Cromwell Hospital. You went to visit him, and did you know
Yes.
you were going there to say goodbye?
No, he was just poorly at that time, just poorly. I mean, when I say just, when I mean, I must have been with a circle of friends that told me that he was poorly. We try to keep close the friends that have shared those precious moments in our lives, don't we? And to be honest, it was probably a bit presumptuous of me to want to go to see him. But I felt a drive. I was driven to go, and the fact that I was taken to his room and had a very gentle chat. And being me, I suppose, optimistic, I was wishing him well. But of course, that wasn't to be.
Well, you say presumptuous, but in fact, Kenny Dalglish arrived, who Daddy had never met, but was he really admired him, and Daddy was very much into football, and they came and had a great little chit chat. It was amazing who actually came and how they found out where he was, because he was under a different name in the hospital, to stop
Exactly.
coming.
Yes.
But, hey. Now, he left a legacy of music behind, which still burns brightly today, thank goodness. Finally, Anita, what legacy do you want to leave behind?
Oh, a trollop. No, I didn't mean that. Am I getting tired or not? A legacy. Oh my gosh. Okay. You didn't brief me on this at all, did you?
Well, you're not supposed to.
I know. I think.
Or let's put it this way, what would you like to be remembered for?
Singing love songs, I think. If some of that connected, and the joy of being able to connect with an audience. And see, that's far too long for a legacy. You want a one-word legacy, don't you?
No.
And not the one I used earlier.
Trollop is good. Anita, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a great pleasure, and Richard and I both wish you so well for the future.
Thanks
you,
again, darling.
The gorgeous Anita Harris.
You take care. Thanks for the memories.
Hopefully, we'll be back with you again next month. In the meantime, if you want to get in touch with us at pod@mattmonro.com, that's pod@mattmonro.com. If you have any stories or questions or anything you'd like to say to us at all, as long as it's clean, please do get in touch, and we'll see you soon.